Hello? Dad called me selfish and my sister laughed loudly at dinner, so I said, "Cool, then find someone else to actually cover your mortgage." They thought I was joking They thought I was joking. That's the part one can't stop replaying in my head. The way my sister's laughter froze mid-giggle, fork still hovering between plate and mouth, and how my dad blinked, slow, confused, like he just heard thunder on a clear day. No one moved. No one spoke. Not for a full 10 seconds. "Cool," I had said. Calm. Casual. "Then find someone else to actually cover your mortgage." And that was it. But to understand how we got to that moment, the fuse, the fire, the silence that followed, you need to know what came before. Because no one sets their family's world on fire in a single dinner without 1,000 small burns leading up to it. Let me take you back. I was 28 when Mom died. Pancreatic cancer? It hit fast, hit hard, and she was gone within 6 months. One moment she was organizing the neighborhood bake sale, the next, she was asking me not to let Dad fall apart after she was gone. Spoiler, he did. My father retired early within 3 months of the funeral. "Stress," he said. As if grief was a job you could walk away from with severance. The mortgage on the house, still a good chunk left, sat quietly in the background, waiting. I tried asking about it. About their finances. But Dad brushed it off every time. "Handled," he'd say. Except it wasn't. I found out by accident. I was visiting home for a weekend. One of those tired, obligatory trips where the house still smelled faintly like her perfume, and Dad barely talked above a mumble. I remember passing by the kitchen table, spotting a stack of unopened envelopes. One of them had a red stamp. Final notice. The mortgage was 2 months behind. I didn't confront him. What was the point? The man who used to fix everything with duct tape and gruff wisdom could barely make eye contact. So I did what I always do. I opened my laptop. Set up an autopay. And the house stayed theirs. For the next 14 months, I covered the mortgage in silence. Paid the bills. Covered maintenance when the pipes burst in winter. I even sent money for groceries. Sometimes it was disguised as a gift. Other times it was just a quiet Venmo with no message attached. And my sister? Jamie? She moved back home after dropping out of college, said she needed time to find herself. That was 2 years ago. She's still finding, apparently. No job, no rent, no shame. She spends her days watching reality shows and her nights posting selfies with vague captions like, "Healing isn't linear." I paid for her last semester of tuition, the one she failed out of, and the therapy she never went to. I even bought her a new laptop when she claimed hers was stolen, from a coffee shop she never went back to. No one said thank you? Not once. It's wild how resentment doesn't explode, it drips. Quiet, steady. Like a leaky faucet you keep telling yourself you'll fix later, until the floor rots underneath you. Every visit home chipped away at me. The first time it really got under my skin was last Easter. Jamie had just posted a selfie from the backyard in a sundress she couldn't afford. The week prior. Caption? "Home is where you're not judged for being yourself." I scrolled past it while standing in the kitchen, looking at the unopened envelope with the water bill addressed to me. Dad didn't ask how work was going. He asked if I'd brought anything for dinner. I had. I always did. Full roasted chicken, scalloped potatoes, my mom's old green bean casserole recipe. They ate without saying much. Jamie scrolled through her phone the whole meal. "Must be nice," she said at one point, eyes still on the screen. "Living in the city. Getting takeout. Traveling." I looked at her, fork halfway to my mouth. "I haven't traveled in 2 years." She rolled her eyes. "Still. You don't know how hard it is being stuck here." I didn't respond. Just chewed. Swallowed. Because what was I going to say? "You're stuck here because I've been paying for the roof over your head." She wouldn't believe me. And even if she did, she'd find a way to twist it. That was her gift. Twisting things. Guilt was her currency, and our father was her bank. When I quietly skipped sending money one week, Just to see what would happen, I got a passive-aggressive text from Dad the next morning. "Hope you're not too busy to remember the folks who raised you." Raising me. That was the debt I was apparently never done paying. I said nothing. I sent the money. I always did. But that year, something started changing. I'd lie in bed at night, my phone lighting up with another message about just a little extra. They needed that month, and I'd feel it, that low, simmering whisper. What if you just stopped? I didn't. Not yet. But I was starting to imagine it. I hadn't taken a vacation in almost 3 years. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because every time I thought about booking a flight, I'd get a call. Or a message. Or a guilt trip. "Your sister's car broke down again. The AC unit's dead, and summer's coming. Your dad had to go to urgent care, he's fine, but the bill." And just like that, the plane ticket money would vanish. Replaced by repairs, groceries, tuition, or mystery charges I stopped asking about. So when I booked a solo trip to Colorado, a quiet cabin in the mountains, just me and my dog, I told no one at first. It wasn't even a big deal. 4 days. A little hiking, some books. No Wi-Fi. Just peace. But then came the holiday visit. Thanksgiving. I figured I'd mention the trip casually. Like a normal person would. I hadn't even walked through the front door before Jamie made a comment. "Well, look who decided to grace us with his presence." Dad chuckled like it was funny. Like it was a script they'd both rehearsed. I ignored it. We sat around the table that night, turkey dry as drywall, conversation thinner, and I decided to say it. "I'm taking a short trip next month," I said, carving into the cranberry gelatin Mom used to make from scratch, now replaced by a can-shaped lump. Jamie snorted. "Where to? Some 5-star resort?" "Colorado," I replied. "Just a cabin. Me and Finn. My dog, by the way. The only living creature that had never asked me for money." Dad paused mid-bite. "You're going alone?" "Yeah." He leaned back in his chair, shook his head. "You know, I don't get it. You never used to be like this." I looked up. "Like what?" "Selfish." And just like that, the air changed. Jamie burst out laughing. "Oh my God, seriously? You're calling him selfish?" Dad didn't laugh. He meant it. "You forget where you came from," he said. "No," I said softly. "I remember exactly where I came from." But Jamie couldn't help herself. She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table like she was about to deliver a toast. "Wow. The hero's finally too good for us, huh?" I looked at her. Then at him. Then at the food I had bought, the wine I had brought, the chair I had built back when the old one broke and no one else bothered to fix it. And I said the line that changed everything. "Cool," I said. "Then find someone else to actually cover your mortgage." Silence. Not confusion. Not anger. Just stillness. Like the second after a glass falls but before it shatters. They thought I was bluffing. And that was their last mistake. I left that night without another word. No dramatic exit. No yelling. I didn't even pack the leftovers they usually begged me to take home. I drove back to my apartment with the windows down, letting the cold cut through the heat still rising in my chest. They thought I was bluffing. I could see it on their faces. Like I was just having a bad day and would apologize tomorrow. Like I'd still wake up Monday morning, check my bank app, and watch my account quietly bleed for a family that didn't even say thank you. But I wasn't bluffing. The next morning, I woke up early. I made coffee. Sat at my desk. And one by one, I pulled the plugs. First, the autopay on their mortgage. Cancelled. It was oddly quiet. No sirens, no alarms, just a silent checkbox unchecked. The house that had stayed afloat on my back for over a year was now on its own. Then the utilities. Gas, electric, internet gone. Next came the Venmo link to Jamie. Blocked. And then? I changed my number. It felt peaceful. Like coming up for air after holding your breath for far too long. I sat on the floor with my dog, Finn, who wagged his tail like he knew something had shifted. I didn't answer the texts when they came in later that day. At first, they were light. Dad. Hey, the mortgage didn't go through, can you check? Jamie. Oh no, did you forget to send gas money? Then, the tone changed. Dad. Seriously, what's going on? Jamie. You can't just ghost your family, you're not some celebrity. Mom's old email, still set to auto-forward to mine, popped up with the first missed payment notice from the bank. I didn't open it. I just archived it and made myself a sandwich. It was the first time in over a year that I'd bought groceries just for me. That night, I cracked open a bottle of wine I'd been saving. Finn curled up next to me. And in the quiet hum of my apartment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Relief. The silence was intentional. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't some dramatic statement. It was peace. And for the first time in over a year, I guarded it like a treasure. By the third day, the emails turned frantic. Subject, urgent, final warning. Subject, please respond, your family needs you. Subject, Jamie says you're being cruel. Please come home. I didn't read past the subject lines. I deleted them all. Jamie tried texting me from a Google number. Then Snapchat. Then Instagram. She sent a selfie with the caption, "Guess who's still stuck in this dump?" I blocked that too. When I got a new number, I only gave it to people who never asked me for money. That made the list short. But clean. Funny thing, when you stop being useful to people who only value you for what you give, they don't try to understand. They just escalate. By week 2, I started hearing from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Aunt Carol called to say she heard there was tension and wanted to mediate. Uncle Dave left a voicemail saying, "You're a grown man now, but don't forget who fed you as a kid." Right. I didn't forget. I just finally started feeding myself. I didn't respond to anyone. Not out of cruelty. But because I'd spent so many years justifying every boundary I almost set, and every dollar I definitely sent. Now? No justification. The bank sent a foreclosure notice by week 4. I know, because Dad emailed a PDF of it. The subject line was short. "Are you happy now?" I didn't open that one either. I was busy signing the lease on a new apartment in a part of the city I used to think was too nice for me. Turns out, when you stop carrying other people's weight, you can finally climb. It started like a rumor. Quiet. Local. My old neighbor, Mrs. Whitaker, the one who used to bring my mom pie after her chemo appointments, was the first to reach out. She messaged me through Facebook. "I heard about the house. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were the one keeping it going." I stared at that message for a long time. She knew. Somehow, someway, the truth had started to leak. By week 5, the foreclosure notice had turned into a very visible sign posted on the front lawn. Auction date, pending, printed in thick red ink. Jamie posted a vague TikTok video captioned, "Some people will throw away family just to go on vacation." The comments weren't kind. A few even said, "Wait, didn't he pay your tuition?" I didn't comment. But someone else did. "You should have said thank you while you had the chance." Dad started calling people. Not me. Other relatives. Distant cousins. Old friends. Asking for a little help just until things stabilize. But no one had the means, or the willingness, to match the silent, steady support I'd given. That's the thing about quiet sacrifices. No one notices them. Until they're gone. I got an email from a family friend, Mr. Davidson, who I hadn't seen since high school graduation. He kept it brief. "If what I'm hearing is true, you did more for your family than they ever did for you. Don't let them guilt you back into the fire. Proud of you." I didn't know what to say. I just sat there rereading it, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Maybe both. At that point, I realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. They had lost the house. But I had found something else entirely. I didn't have some big revelation. No tearful aha moment. No grand sunrise as I looked out over my new life and whispered, I'm finally free. No, what I had was silence. The kind that seeps into your bones and tells you, you don't owe anyone a single thing. I signed the lease on a one-bedroom apartment just outside the city. Nothing fancy. But the hardwood floors didn't creak when I walked across them. The faucet didn't drip at night. And the best part? No one else's mail showed up in my mailbox. Just mine. I got a dog. Finn, Australian Shepherd mix, rescued from a shelter where he had been sitting for almost 6 months. The volunteer said most people overlooked him because he had a cloudy eye and didn't warm up right away. I told her. Same. The first week he didn't bark once. Just followed me from room to room, quietly observing, like he was making sure this wasn't another temporary stop. I got it. We both knew what it felt like to be useful and still unwanted. I started sleeping better. Eating better. I picked up the guitar again, something I hadn't touched since college, because every hour of my life had become about survival or support. I started reading books I used to buy and never open. I went to the gym without feeling like I was wasting time. And on weekends I let myself rest. Not just physically, mentally. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for a text to ruin my morning or a phone call to hijack my paycheck. The funny thing? My finances weren't the first thing I noticed improving. It was my voice. I stopped second-guessing every word I said in meetings. I pushed for that promotion I'd been putting off for a year. I reconnected with a few friends I'd ghosted, not out of rudeness, but because I'd been too drained to maintain any relationships that didn't involve an emergency or an invoice. And little by little, the guilt that had haunted me began to lift. Not because I proved anything. Not because I finally got approval. But because I stopped asking for it. One day, while walking Finn down by the lake, I checked the email I had created for junk and family spam, an inbox I barely looked at anymore. There were new messages from Jamie and Dad. Unread. I hovered over them. Then clicked Select All. And pressed Delete. The foreclosure went through the first week of spring. I didn't find out from them. I found out from a Zillow alert I forgot to unsubscribe from. There it was, the house I grew up in, newly listed as a bank-owned property. Photos of the empty rooms. The cracked driveway I paid to patch. The kitchen Jamie once called embarrassing, now stripped of appliances, listed with the line, Investor opportunity, needs TLC. I sat in my car and stared at my phone for 10 solid minutes. They'd lost it. The house. The one I saved. The one they mocked me for keeping afloat. Gone. A week later, I heard through a mutual friend that Jamie had moved in with a girl she barely knew from high school. Apparently she was sleeping on a futon in someone's den, working part-time at a cafe downtown and complaining about her toxic family situation, as if she hadn't played lead violin in the orchestra of entitlement. Dad? He moved into his brother's basement. The same uncle who once said, "You've got a good son there, Mike. Don't lose him." Guess he didn't listen. I heard he tried to get another job, but it turns out retiring early, living off your kid, and then re-entering the workforce at 61 with a 2-decade-old resume doesn't exactly make you Employee of the Month material. I didn't reach out. Not even when my aunt messaged me to say, "He's not doing well. Think about what your mom would have wanted." I did think about Mom. Every day, actually. I thought about the last conversation we had, how she grabbed my hand in that hospital bed and whispered, "Just promise me you won't lose yourself trying to save everyone else." That line used to confuse me. Not anymore. It came in an envelope. Real paper. Handwritten address. No return label. My name spelled correctly, always a sign it was from someone who used to know me. The handwriting was familiar though shaky. My dad's. I didn't open it right away. Just set it on the counter beside Finn's leash and stared at it for a while. Like it was radioactive. I thought about shredding it. Burning it. Throwing it in the trash without a second glance. Instead, I let it sit for 3 days. And on the 4th I opened it. The letter was 3 pages. Cursive that started tight and ended messy. It smelled like old cologne and stale air. like the past trying to claw its way back through paper. The first lines were defensive. You don't understand the pressure I was under. I never asked you to take care of everything. Then came the pivot. I should have said thank you. I didn't realize how much you did until it stopped. And then, finally, what he really wanted. We lost the house. Jamie's struggling. I'm trying to get on my feet again. I know I made mistakes. I know I said things I shouldn't have. But maybe we can sit down. Start over. No direct apology. No mention of the night he called me selfish. Or the months, years, he watched me sacrifice everything while saying nothing. But it was the closest thing to regret I'd ever gotten from him. A week later, a similar envelope arrived. This one from Jamie. Shorter. Sloppier. Less filtered. It opened with, I was joking that night. You know how I am. Followed by, I didn't realize the mortgage thing was serious. Then, I'm sorry. I think. And finally, if you're still mad, I get it. But please, just talk to Dad. He's not doing great. I folded both letters, tucked them into a drawer I rarely opened. Not because I planned to revisit them, but because I wanted to remember exactly how far they had to fall before they saw what was always right in front of them. You see, they weren't sorry because they understood. They were sorry because the consequences finally caught up. That's not reconciliation. That's survival. And I wasn't their safety net anymore. I didn't write back. I didn't call. I didn't unblock them. Instead, I spent that Sunday at the dog park. Finn chased squirrels, then rolled in something awful. We stopped at my favorite food truck on the way home. I sat under a tree and ate tacos in the sun while listening to a playlist that wasn't built to drown anyone out. No tension. No weight on my chest. Just the quiet joy of a life no longer borrowed. And that night, I wrote something of my own. Not a letter. Not a reply. Just a single sentence in my journal. Cutting them off wasn't an act of revenge, it was an act of self-respect. And finally, I believed it. I didn't go back for the holidays. Not for Thanksgiving. Not for Christmas. Not for birthdays or anniversaries or the awkward group photo someone always insisted on before dessert. And you know what? Nothing collapsed. The world didn't end. No lightning struck me down for walking away. The silence, once deafening, became a comfort. I spent that first Christmas morning watching snow fall outside my apartment window, Finn asleep at my feet. No one asked for anything. No one made me feel like I owed them just for breathing. I had peace. And I kept it. They'll live with the silence. And I'll live with freedom. Forever. Bye-bye.